And right now with the GPT-5, what is a game changer for entrepreneur and the startup?
32 months ago, we launched ChatGPT. Today, finally, we're launching GPT-5.
We are very excited about this model. Some of the areas where it is very strong is accuracy, so much fewer hallucinations and generally much better responses out of the box. But then coding and agentic tasks are two areas where we invested a lot of time from the research perspective to try to make the model stronger, and it's showing a ton of improvement there. We start from the mission of OpenAI overall, which is how can we ensure that AI and AGI benefit all of humanity? Sam Altman has said that he thinks, in our lifetimes, we will see a one-person, $1 billion company, a unicorn. I don't think we're there yet, but as the models are getting better and better, and the tooling and the products being built by startups are getting better and better, I think we will get there.
If you were to build your startup today, which industry would you choose?
I think I would be drawn to education because of the idea of being able to democratize access to really great learning and instruction. I think that's very exciting.
Could you share a mindset or the playbook that startups should follow to turn the AI into the true business driver? When something was written by ChatGPT, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, we have a joke internally that if you see the M dash, which is the long hyphen, ChatGPT likes to use the long hyphen, the M dash. So we have a joke when you see it in a document internally, you say, "Oh, wait a minute."
เรากำลังอยู่ในจุดเปลี่ยนแปลงครั้งใหญ่ของมนุษยชาติ AI กำลังเข้ามาเปลี่ยนแปลงวิธีการทำงานใหม่ๆธุรกิจที่เคยรุ่งเรืองอาจจะถูกแทนที่ด้วยธุรกิจคลื่นลูกใหม่ที่ขับเคลื่อนด้วย AI ผู้ประกอบการหรือสตาร์ทอัพจะคว้าโอกาสอะไรได้บ้าง Techsauce พูดคุยกับ Marc Manara Head of Strategic Startup จาก OpenAI ค่ะ Hello Marc, this is your first time in Bangkok, and what kind of activities that you are working together with SCB 10X today?
No, it's not my first time in Bangkok, actually. My wife grew up here, and so she still has family here. So we visit almost every single year for the last 15 years to spend time with her family. So it's great to be back. And yeah, I'm excited to be here in Bangkok. With SCB 10X, we're starting to work more closely together with my team to see how we can support the firm and the startups that they work with. So that's exciting for us. We're excited to be partnering more closely together now.
Yeah, that is a good news for Thai tech startup community as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let's start with the first question about as a head of the startup at OpenAI, how do you define your mission, and at the same time, what is the most important change you aim to drive in the startup ecosystem across Southeast Asia?
Sure. So we start from the mission of OpenAI overall, which is how can we ensure that AI and AGI benefit all of humanity? And startups, we see startups as an extension of that mission. So in many ways, startups are going to create more products built on top of AI, even than OpenAI itself. And so the role of our team and my mission is how can we be the best partner to AI startups? How can we help them get the resources they need as they're building, tap into some of the expertise internally that we have, and hopefully with partnering with our team, we can accelerate their growth and development and help the impact that they're creating accelerate in the world. So that's very much the focus today. Now, if you rewind 2 years ago, this team did not exist. And I joined OpenAI just about 2 years ago, really as the first person focused on startups as my full job. And, the early days were really challenging. OpenAI was a small but growing organization. There were lots of startups trying to build on top of our technology. There just weren't that many of us to go work with them all. So if you fast forward to today, we've built out a team now, really a global team. So there's dozens of folks focused on startups at OpenAI around the world, including our first hire recently here in Southeast Asia, which I'm really excited about, to see how can we be a better partner to companies across all geographies at any stage of development, from pre-seed, seed, Series A and beyond, and including the fastest growing later stage startups that have unique needs. So the mission is sort of how can we help those companies get what they need as they're building and bring that impact to the world.
So as I have heard that you are also like a founder before, and now move to the OpenAI. What key lesson that should start up in Thailand and also across Southeast Asia learn to compete on the global stage?
Sure. There are some things that have not changed. And I think that's, as a startup, you still want to build a product that people really love. And I think the best startups tend to move very, very quickly, are very customer centric and really take feedback quickly from their users, from their customers, and incorporate that into building a better product and moving at a velocity that helps accelerate their time to get to product market fit or to get to something that really sticks. So those things haven't changed. What has changed, I think, is AI is making it possible for very small teams to scale and reach a global audience much sooner than was possible ever before. And you see companies, even ones that are based here in Southeast Asia or have a headquarters here like GenSpark or Manus that have relatively small teams, but have captured the imagination of the world with their products and have been able to scale really, really significantly. Or Cursor in the United States or Lovable in Sweden with very small teams have reached, 100, 200 plus $1 million ARR because of how they're using technology and how they've built for global scale from day one. So I think that's really been interesting is that like the dynamics of how you build a startup has in some ways changed to make that possible thanks to the incorporation of AI into the products that startups are building as well as how they run their business.
So we need to consider about what is the value proposition that they are trying to deliver to the market.
Exactly.
So jump to the AI tool because some people say that AI is just a tool, but actually you have mentioned before that AI should be the engine for the business rather than just like a feature. So could you share like a mindset or the playbook that startup should follow to turn the AI into the true business driver?
Sure. Yeah, this comes back to how we think about startups. So I think there's two kinds of startups with relation to AI. There's what we would call AI native startups, meaning their entire product is powered by AI under the hood. The second kind is every other startup, so AI supported startups where maybe their product is not at its core powered by AI, but they're incorporating AI as features in the product and maybe powering parts of their business with AI as well. So I think for the AI native companies, that's who my team spends the most of our time with because they tend to be the most sophisticated users of our technology and they give us the best feedback. And it develops this flywheel where we work closely with a startup building on our technology. We understand the gaps in the models or the places where the API needs to be stronger in certain dimensions. We take that and go back to our research teams, go to our product teams and help them understand how customers are actually using these models in their product. And we develop a cycle where they can make rapid improvements that benefit the startup and the end users. That's a key part of my team's role. For the companies that are AI supported, where AI is maybe not the core of their product, we see many of them adopting AI and building features that improve their customer experience or their user experience using AI. We're also seeing many of them just reinvent how they run the business. And we've seen, for example, startups be able to stay smaller as they grow and not have to always incrementally add more team members in order to scale their mission, but they're using AI in various different places. So coding is an obvious one. Almost every startup now is using coding tools powered by AI, whether it's Cursor or Windsurf or Lovable or Bolt.new or Replit or Augment Code. There's a lot of really great tools that allow engineers to move much more quickly. Then there's meeting note takers. We've had these for a while. They've gotten so much better because of AI. And so Granola and Fireflies and Read AI are companies in that space where you can basically attach it to all your meetings, have the notes taken automatically, be able to glean insights, summarization, take next steps. That cuts out a lot of time that normally a human has spent at the company, taking these manual steps. It's not value add activity for the human to do it, but it's accelerating when you have AI helping you. And then we've seen companies automate things like parts of their customer service operation where they can use a tool like Sierra or Decagon or Maven AGI or others and say, now rather than have a human have to answer every single phone call and have to staff up and work with agencies to support this, you can have the AI take the bulk of those requests and handle them automatically based on your knowledge base and your best practices, your FAQs, and reserve the harder cases for where you might bring a human into the loop. And so these are just a few examples, but we're seeing the best companies, startups and enterprises actually rapidly adopt these technologies and bring it into their day-to-day. On top of that, there's lots of internal productivity use cases where ChatGPT is a great option. So we use ChatGPT extensively, obviously inside of OpenAI, but our customers do too. And it's everything from writing, debugging code, having a thought partner on a strategy where the AI is really sparring with you and trying to help you get the best ideas, to using deep research and some of the tools to make the actual research in a certain category much faster, much more comprehensive. I use it daily for all of these use cases, but that internal productivity is another way where you can say, how do I get 5 or 10 times more out of myself and have the best version of myself as an employee, come to the company through how I use AI.
You have expand about many use cases, but if I would like to ask you to select a startup that can leverage the AI effectively and can can differentiate from the others, what kind of the startup that you would like to select and mention in this group?
Yeah, it's a great question. There's so many. I mean, every category. So in healthcare, we work with Abridge and Ambience, which are helping doctors take notes from their meetings and automatically transcribe those, structure those, still have a human in the loop for actually taking action, but remove a lot of the manual steps in note-taking in the medical context. We talked about a lot of the coding companies that are, really effectively allowing engineers to move much faster and increasingly taking on sort of agentic coding tasks where you give a task or a prompt to the agent and it goes off and reads a bunch of files, searches, develops an action plan, goes and executes the action plan, and longer horizon tasks are now being accomplished without the human involved in every single step. So that's been really interesting. In customer support, Sierra and Decagon are two that we work with. Decagon has been, I think, really interesting from how they use evals in their product. So evals, for folks who aren't familiar, is a way to test how the model is performing on a certain task. And so in the same way that you might test code, you can test the model's response in a certain context. And so what's impressive about Decagon is when we release a new model like GPT-5, within a couple hours, they can run it through all of their tests, all of their evals, and have a really good sense of where the model performs well, where it doesn't, and give us that feedback, which is helpful for us to go make a better model, but also just helps them move really quickly and say, great, this model performs much better on these 100 tasks, so we will incorporate it immediately there, and we may have to do some more work on the next 30 or 40 where it doesn't perform as well, and see if we can adjust prompts and get it better. So I think that as a critical skill for any startup building with AI, evals are this critical component, because the models at the end of the day, they have behaviors and they have personalities and they have things that they're stronger at, and small changes in how you prompt the model may produce a different output than what you would like. So that iteration cycle with evals as the core is generally what we advise, and Decagon is a company that does this very well.
In my opinion, actually, GPT is very smart itself. And right now with the GPT-5, what is a game changer for entrepreneur and the startup?
Yeah, so GPT-5 just released a few days ago. We are very excited about this model. Some of the areas where it is very strong is accuracy, so much fewer hallucinations and generally much better responses out of the box. But then coding and agentic tasks are two areas where we invested a lot of time from the research perspective to try to make the model stronger, and it's showing a ton of improvement there. So nearly every coding startup building an AI right now has been using GPT-5 since we launched. And in particular, it was really good at front-end coding, so producing really nice designs from a prompt, and having really beautiful UX, but also very functional front-end design. So we've seen a lot of examples of 0 to 1 apps being built that are just really phenomenal. The model is very steerable, so small prompts can actually steer the outputs in ways you'd like in a coding environment, which is really strong. It's also gotten better at longer horizon tasks. So again, as we talk about agents and coding agents, what they tend to do is take a task and perform many different actions along the sequence to try to generate the output. And they might edit many files, they might search through files, they might backtrack. The model is really good at those longer horizon tasks and making many choices along the way and calling tools or functions along the way that help it get to the best output. So coding is one area. Agentic solutions is the other one. And we just see a lot of really great use cases that can allow for longer horizon tasks to be run with these models and with GPT-5 in particular.
Back to the model side, right now we have seen that LLM model is like one part of the most intelligent things that the human have ever created before. So which industry do you think will be disrupted first?
Yeah, so I almost think about it, which industries will be enhanced the most because, in many cases, like we talk about healthcare. In healthcare, at least in the US, the context is that you have many doctors are burnt out and they're, spending time outside of the clinical hours, taking notes and trying to catch up from their day. And it's a high stress environment for them. And so what Abridge and Ambience are building in the healthcare space is actually making their lives better and easier, meaning they could spend more of their working hours with patients, less time on note-taking and sort of the drudgery aspect of their job. And I would say, and they still have a human in the loop in the core task. So it's an enhancement really to that workforce. It's disruptive in a way that people are doing their jobs differently. But I think if you talk to any physician or nurse or clinician that's been using one of these software, it's night and day. It's such a big improvement to their daily work that they say that, usually they can't imagine doing work again without that tool. But there's many others like that. So I would say legal is one area where we're seeing a lot of disruption and just changes to what the workflow is. So for example, doing legal research or case citation or due diligence as part of a transactional, legal process. All of those tasks, what AI is really good at is taking unstructured information and trying to reason over that unstructured data to assist a human in getting to the end result that they care about. And so those are a couple that I think are the most exciting from my perspective.
So have you seen any edge cases or use case of the ChatGPT from startup for this case that was so unexpected that and also make a surprise team as well?
Yeah, I mean, one of the ones that I think recently has been interesting is a lot of startups use meeting note takers to transcribe and record and capture notes from their meetings with their customers or internal meetings. And one use case that came up recently was startups trying to automate customer feedback capture from those meeting notes. So you might talk to 50 customers in a week and you get all kinds of feedback on your product that are captured in these recordings and in these notes. Can you synthesize that and have your product team immediately have the top 10 insights that came out of your 50 customer meetings like this? And so that's a great example. We're actually building something like that internally because it just seems so powerful to have the product insights, automatically captured rather than hoping that the person who talks to that customer remembers to write it down and to consolidate it and get it to the product team. It might take, a week and a half for that to happen when it can happen instantly with these tools.
As the expert for the AI case, and there are many tech startup maybe misconception about the AI. What kind of the advice you would like to give to them to avoid that kind of the problem?
Yeah, the biggest one I see is these models and AI tools, they make it really, really fast to create a working prototype. And so, for example, internally, the product team recently, rather than write a long document describing, a new product they want to build, they decided to vibe code it and say, we'll spend a few hours, a product manager sitting down with these tools and create an actual working prototype of the product they want to go build. That's just one example, but we say that it's very easy to get from nothing to a demo that works. However, in practice, it is harder to get from the demo to a real enterprise-ready production application. And so that is where these concepts of using evals and testing and building structure around observability and testing around how you actually use the models in your product is really, really critical. Because while it's easy to create a demo, you often, when you run something live in production with real users, you find all kinds of areas where maybe it's not working as well as you had hoped, or it's not consistent enough. And a lot of the work my team does with startups is trying to help them overcome that gap and say, okay, how can we sprint with you and help you iron out all of the parts of the product where you actually need to make tweaks or changes or add something new or take a new architecture to how you're designing with the models to have really consistent, highly performant outputs. And so that's probably one that I would call out.
It speed up the innovation and at the same time they can deliver the product to the market faster than before.
Exactly.
If you could leave like a short and powerful message for Thai startup in Thailand, do you have like any advice for this case?
Sure. I think, I've been impressed by what a small, dedicated, hardworking team can achieve. And today it's possible to build a successful global startup from literally anywhere. And I know there's a ton of really smart, talented people here who are thinking about maybe taking the leap and building something. So I would encourage you to say, roll up your sleeves, start building, iterate quickly. Hopefully, if you're building with AI, my team can help along the way. But there's a lot to go build, and it's an exciting time to be doing a startup anywhere.
With the AI capabilities, I believe that many people can be the solo entrepreneur and can create like a million or billion tech companies. So what do you think about this case?
I think it's possible today for teams to be smaller than they've ever been before, and when in building a company. Sam Altman has said that he thinks, in our lifetimes, we will see a one-person, $1 billion company, a unicorn. I don't think we're there yet, but as the models are getting better and better, and the tooling and the products being built by startups are getting better and better, I think we will get there. But today, what's exciting is a small team can do a lot, and as companies get larger and the team sizes get larger, there's inevitably some administrative overhead that comes with that, and communication lines sometimes break down, or you spend a lot of time on internal sharing of information and coordination that if the team is smaller, you generally can move faster. And so a lot of the startups that we work with are staying much smaller longer, even though they have access to capital, they have a lot of revenue, they're growing, they're intentionally trying to stay small because it keeps them nimble and allows them to do more. And how are they doing that? Well, they're using AI technologies of all kinds to run the company more efficiently and really reserve the areas where you need human intelligence for how their team gets involved. So it's an exciting time, and I think it's going to get more and more possible over the coming months and years.
Yeah, we are at that turning point of our human history right now.
Yeah.
And back to like your daily work as well, like reading emails, like read the articles. Can you tell when something was written by ChatGPT, how do you feel about that?
Yeah. We have a joke internally that if you see the M dash, which is the long hyphen, ChatGPT likes to use the long hyphen, the M dash. So we have a joke. When you see it in a document internally, you say, "Oh, wait a minute." But actually, it's a good thing. We celebrate that. We make a joke about it, but we celebrate it because usually it means that somebody actually was trying to find a way to get to a better output or a faster output. And we like using the models and ChatGPT as our partner in writing and development. So, but that is sometimes something we find and we joke about.
So sometimes we can change it to be like a short dash. So the author maybe don't know that. Okay. Last but not least, if you were to build your startup today, which industry would you choose? And what is the reason behind how would you leverage AI to create like competitive edge?
Yeah. I'm very excited about the uses of AI in education, and in particular, the promise of having a personal tutor in any domain you want to learn, I think is just really fascinating. So we work with startups in various categories here, like Speak in the language learning space and others. But I think I would be drawn to education because of the idea of being able to democratize access to really great learning and instruction. I think that's very exciting. So that's probably what I would do, and there would be a lot of AI in the product.
Yeah, looking forward to like the new innovation, especially in the education industry.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Marc.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.